Oh, my good friends, I'm honored again to be with you to discuss more about foundations of agroecology. I actually haven't started the real gist of foundations, but I want us to first appreciate that agroecology is something that is very exciting and which has got solutions to the number one problem of the world today. I remember last time, well, we ended at when I talked about turning vermin and problem animals into opportunities, and I must have left you thinking, how possible is that? But before I continue, I want to once again tell you that I'm Clovis Kabaseke. I'm heading the Department of Environment, Natural Resources and Tourism at Mountains of the Moon University, and I'm an agroecologist. To go back to where we left last time, I was saying that in agroecology, what other production systems call vermin or problem animals should be turned into opportunities. Here I mean that as agroecologists, one needs to think of scientific designs of how that one can be possible. I'll give you an example of what happens at Triple F demonstration, Agroecology Demonstration Center. There is a fish pond where there is a lot of tilapia fish. And the tilapia are so many because tilapia produce very profusely. And when the populations become very big, it means the size of the fish becomes small because of competition. I think we have covered those in the earlier sessions. Now, in order to get a better size of the fish, you have to reduce the competition. So there should be certain things which should actually come and reduce that population. Now, at Triple F, there is a certain bird which is called the hammerkop. This bird builds the largest nest in the world, and it's a small bird, but it feeds on the fish. So when somebody sees this bird feeding on the fish, he would actually wish to kill that bird because he thinks that it is actually destroying his fish. But in reality, it is actually reducing on the population so that he can get better quality fish. But at the same time, this bird is the bird which builds the largest nest in the whole world. If you only marketed this bird to the world and said, okay, if you want to see the bird which builds the largest nest in the world, come to Triple F. Very many tourists actually do come, and what they pay to come and see this bird is much more than one would get from fish. So having the fish around attracted the bird to be around, and now the bird is attracting tourists to come. So you find that you can earn much more from the bird than you would earn from the fish. This is turning what other people call vermin into an opportunity. There are many examples that we can give regarding that, but I would like us to go to another equally important topic, which is about the fragile ecosystems. Agroecology is extremely important in fragile ecosystems. What do I mean by fragile ecosystems? Fragile ecosystems, I'll give examples. For instance, if you have a mountain like Mount Rwenzori, the slopes are very steep and they are very prone to erosion. They are very prone to landslides. They are very prone to landslides. They are very prone to soil erosion, meaning that that ecosystem is very fragile. If it is not handled very well, you can lose tons and tons of topsoil by actually it getting washed downstream. I can talk about wetlands. Wetlands are also a fragile ecosystem. Wetlands play a very important role in the ecosystems that we have around. They have very important ecosystem services like holding water for some time so that it can seep gradually into the other areas surrounding it during the dry season, sieving water so that the water can be clean, working as water reservoirs, uh, being habitat to aquatic life. All those are systems, but a wetland can be destroyed in only 1 week. Any person reclaiming a wetland can do it in a very short time, meaning that millions of living organisms can actually suffer a genocide if you actually destroyed a wetland. So a wetland is also a fragile ecosystem. Forests, especially the natural forests, are also fragile ecosystems. For a forest to build up through succession, which I think we shall learn in detail in future, I mentioned something about it earlier, but we shall learn it in detail. For a forest to develop into a mature forest, it takes hundreds of years. For instance, if you look at the Kibale Forest National Park, which is close to Fort Portal in Uganda, this forest may be slightly more than 200 years. And to reach that level, you can see it has taken hundreds of years. But it can be destroyed by a person wielding a chainsaw in a very short period of time. It means that that one is very fragile. And if you destroyed that forest, you would be destroying thousands of species which can become extinct. When you look at rangelands, especially if you go into the cattle corridor, you go to the Kiruhura areas, go to Chaka areas, Karamoja, all those are within the cattle, where they are in the cattle corridor. Those are rangelands. If those rangelands are not managed properly, they can actually turn either into a desert in a very short time. If it is not a desert, if for instance climate change actually brought a lot of rain and those wetlands got more rain than they expected, then they could actually develop into forests, and that would also be very dangerous for that particular ecosystem. So that one is also a fragile ecosystem. River banks, most of the primary rivers, even the secondary rivers that we have, are in real danger because people want to cultivate up to the banks, actually destroying them, meaning that they are in deep danger. We have crater lakes in this region. Crater lakes are also in danger because they will no longer perform the functions they used to perform because of the anthropogenic activities around them. All these are fragile ecosystems. And why I'm trying to talk about these ecosystems like this is because it's agroecology now which can save these ecosystems, the fragile ecosystems. If you carried out any agriculture in these fragile ecosystems without first understanding the environmental impact assessment and even the social impact assessment these ecosystems can have, then you will actually make a very big mistake. So if you could do an environmental impact assessment before you carry out any activity there, you would certainly end up doing agroecology in those places. This is why I'm saying that the areas of Uganda where we are, more especially in western Uganda, is very much characterized by fragile ecosystems like mountains, wetlands, forests, rangelands, riverbanks, and crater lakes. If we are not careful about what you do around, then we can actually cause an ecological catastrophe in these areas. I can give an example. We now know that Uganda is very much keen at establishing industrial parks in every region. Now, if they established an industrial park, say in Kasese, and in that industrial park they put there a ketchup industry, it would mean that most of the farmers would actually go into growing of tomatoes, and we know very well that growing tomatoes is so delicate that you have to use a lot of fungicides if you have to expect any yields. Now, if the farmers on the mountain slopes started growing tomatoes and they started using fungicides, it would mean that all the water bodies that begin from that mountain, we know Mount Rwenzori is the water tower for the whole of this region, of the western region. Even the water of the Rwenzori region actually goes up to the Mediterranean through the Nile. So if the farmers started growing tomatoes and all the fungicides and the pesticides went into the rivers and into the lakes, all the fish would die, the water would get polluted, the lives of humans and livestock that depend on such rivers would be in, danger, just because of the industrial park that has not been thought through properly. So we mean that in order to manage these fragile ecosystems, we actually require agroecology to quickly and carefully recommend what sort of industries and activities that are supposed to be there. Ladies and gentlemen, I think this aspect of fragile ecosystems is very, very important, and it's agroecology that can actually bring this one. So I would end here today so that we can actually meet and begin from the three facets of agroecology next time. Thank you very much for attending.